record. All yours, Monica. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. I'm just setting my timer here real quick. 45 minutes. Hi, everyone. My name is Monica, and I'm a very grateful alcoholic. Hello. Oh, you have a timer there too. Okay. I'm a very grateful alcoholic. Hello. Eric, thank you so much for asking me to be of service tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me to join your meeting. And it is always a pleasure and an honor to speak at Walk the Walk. I love you guys so much. I'm so happy to see a lot of my friends on here. And some that I haven't seen in a while too, so it's very fun. Um, Anyway, there's a few things that I do always like to start off with. The first thing is that I do always want to let everyone know that I pray before I speak at any meeting. I ask God to speak through me and to use me as a vessel to give the message it is that He needs me to give. I ask Him to just speak from the heart, allow me to speak from the heart where He is, and to just allow me to help at least one person in whichever room that I'm in and to allow me to be honest and open and vulnerable and cry if I have to cry. And I do usually end up shedding some tears here and there. So just a full disclosure. And yeah, so if there's anything that I say tonight that offends anyone, I do like to say, tell your higher power to talk to my higher power and they can hash it out because I have absolutely nothing to do with this. This is all God. And I do have a sponsor and I sponsor other alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous. Doesn't matter what they identify as long as they identify as alcoholic. And my sponsor is this little old man. A lot of you happen to know this little old man. And he's been my sponsor for the past 6 years. And yeah, I do also get to be of service whenever I get asked to speak at any meeting. If I am able to be there and it doesn't interfere with another commitment, I will be there. It doesn't matter what time it is or where I am in the world. If I could be there, I will be there. And I also get to host a 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time meeting. It runs Sunday through Saturday, and it's also a commitment that I've been able to be a part of, and it doesn't even feel like a commitment at this point. It just feels like a party with my friends every night. And I do get to be the secretary for my home group as well, which is the Coral Gables group of Alcoholics Anonymous here in Miami, Florida. So those are just a few things that I do like to mention that allow me to be a part of my home group and serve for a group that has given me the life that I get to live today. And I have a sobriety date. It's April 13 of 2018. And so I just celebrated 8 years this past week. It's actually really weird. It's really like unbelievable and weird and I don't it's hard to like wrap my head around 8 years of sobriety. And I do like to say recovery as well. I feel like a lot of my I didn't know the difference between just being sober and being recovered. And and today I think I can say that I am a recovered alcoholic that has had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps. And this is my second time in this program. The first time I came in and I was given all these suggestions. I was told to get a big book and a 12 and 12 and to get other phone numbers from other alcoholics. I was told to get a sponsor and work the steps and I was told to pray and to meditate and to keep coming back to meetings. And I took maybe half of one of those suggestions, and at 30 something days, I thought that I could control my drinking and I wasn't like these weirdos, these old weirdos that are chain smoking outside of these meetings. And I'm better. I'm better than these people. They just don't know how to drink and they don't know how to control their drinking. And I can probably do a much better job than they can. And that's why, and that's exactly what I'll do. And I attempted to do just that for the next 2 years, and that brought me to near death. Um, I didn't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't know why I was an alcoholic. I didn't know why I drank the way that I drank. I didn't know why I couldn't drink like other people. I didn't know why I couldn't stop. I didn't know anything. I was just um, I was clueless as to why I was the way that I was. I thought this is the way that I was supposed to live, and I didn't think there was a purpose to being alive. And for most of my life, most of my life I was pretty suicidal. I had a lot of suicidal ideations growing up, and um, I felt very different from other people. And um, I can tell you all these stories about, my drunk stories and cheating and lying and manipulation and stealing and um, just not being a good person overall. Um, but overall, what usually sticks to me when it comes to other people's stories are the emotions and the feelings of the way that they were. And that is a person that was miserable, and I was lonely, and I was full of fear. And I didn't know how to be a good daughter. I didn't know what it took to be a good friend. I didn't know what it took to be a great sister or a great aunt. And I thought that I was just supposed to try my best to stay alive every single day. And and that's it. Yeah, I didn't have an actual purpose to be alive. And every day I would wake up and just ask myself why I was still here and why I was alive, and that no one loves me, no one cares about me, and I don't love anyone, and I don't care about anyone. And why, I thought it was also pretty cool to not care. It was very like, yeah, I'm cool. I don't love people. I don't need to love. It was just like it was just like a shell of a human being. Like there was nothing inside of me. And I wouldn't say that I wanted to die. I just didn't know how to live. And then the only solution that I found to fix that issue was to attempt a suicide. And so I decided to take all these different substances that I could find in my room, and I laid in a bathtub ready to die. And I don't know why I laid in a bathtub. I think that's just how I listened to how most people attempted suicide. I think like a lot of artists and celebrities are found in bathtubs for some reason. And so I wanted to go out with a bang, and so I not an actual bang, but like a splash, I guess. And so I I decided to just attempt a suicide in a bathtub, and I was found in the bathtub unconscious and overdosing. I was taken to the hospital, and at this hospital I was admitted into the psych ward. And so at the psych ward, I woke up and I didn't know why I was there. My first thought was, what did I do wrong and what did I forget to take, and why wasn't I successful at dying? I'm like, I'm such a failure. I can't even succeed at dying. It was like like what else do I have to do to just get out of this world? And that's actually it's crazy how bad. Like I sometimes I go back and I think of like the that feeling of not wanting to be here. And it's crazy because I think I tried everything to want to be here, and like there was nothing that would tie me to wanting to be alive. And so waking up and not knowing like what I was still doing here and like why I was still alive was it was like this other feeling, like another level of failure and fear, and like just even more daunting. And it was just I don't usually go back to that moment unless I'm like sharing about it. And it's crazy to think that this same person that's sitting here tonight is that same person that wanted to die, that didn't have anything tying her to being alive. It's actually it's crazy because um today I have the most amazing life. And today I have this life that I can't even believe that I'm living the life that I get to live today. And I'll go into that in a while, in a little bit, but I didn't it's actually crazy. And so I was assigned a bed at this psych ward, and the first thing I did was hit my knees next to this bed, and I said, God, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how I got here, but I just need your help. And it was this moment of complete surrender and complete, like, I just give up moment. Like, if there's anything out there that's listening to me, I need help. And it's probably the one of the most important prayers or the biggest prayers that I've ever asked for in my life. It was the I need help. And I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know who I was praying to. I didn't grow up with an actual idea of God besides a God that my mom spoke about often, which was a punishing God. And I was threatened a lot with this God of, I'm going to hell if I don't wash the dishes, or I'm going to hell if I don't come home at a certain time, or I'm going to hell if I don't listen to what my parents are saying. And that it was just like this God that I was going to hell no matter what. Still to this day, I get threatened with this God, which is kind of funny. But that's just the God that I grew up with. And so, at that moment of hitting my knees, I wasn't praying to that God. It was just like a God out there. Like if there's a God out there that can have some mercy on me and like help me to stay alive, like this is it. Like I am begging you right now to help me, to help me. And I didn't know what was going to come out of that. But for the next about 7 days, I was in this psych ward, and I think the first weekend that I was there, my parents came to visit me, and we were sitting at this round table. It was my parents and my brother. It was my mom, my dad, and my brother at this little round table. And I was still in like the hospital gown, no bra. They take away bras because of the wires, no socks, grippy socks on. It was just like this mess. And I'll never forget the looks on their faces of each and every single one of them. I'll never forget. And I'm so glad that I'll never forget to this day. I'm grateful that those faces are like engraved in my mind. That moment. Because ever like since that day to now, everything that I get to do today is because of them, for them. The relationships that I get to have with them. Okay? And they asked me, "What are you going to do, Monica? Like, what is your plan? What like do you actually want to die?" And I didn't know what to say. I was like, "I guess." Like I said, I just didn't know how to live. And they're like, "Well, you need help." And I said, "Well, I guess I should try to stop drinking." I guess I didn't know. I didn't know what my problem was. And so 7 days later, I come out of that psych ward and I come back into these rooms and I sat in we have a little, like I don't want, like the couch next to the door so that people can just like leave and come in sneakily. And so I sat on that couch by myself. It's at the very back of the room, and I was just listening in there, and I was terrified. And I remember raising my hand and saying, "My name is Monica, and I'm an alcoholic." And the whole room started cheering and saying, "Woo! Welcome! God, you're here! Woo!" And in my head, I'm freaking out. I'm like, hold on, like, why is everyone happy? Why is everyone cheering? Why is everyone so excited for me? I couldn't wrap my head around why people were excited. Because to me, it's the end. To me, it's the end of the world, like the end of my life. Because my life, I still have grippy socks on. I still want to die. I'm sitting in this room with other alcoholics, and I don't know what the hell is going on. No idea. And everyone's cheering, woo! And I'm still fearful. I'm afraid. I'm miserable. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm The worst emotions mixed together, all of them. I didn't know why. I didn't know why. Little did I know that a few years later, I'd be the one clapping and cheering for them coming in on the first day. Woo! Welcome. We're glad you're here. Because I get it now. I understand. I know there's someone in here in their first few days, first couple of months. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Because if you're feeling scared, full of fear, if you're full of fear and maybe you also want to die or don't know how to live, and maybe you're also feeling depressed or you're confused, whatever it is, I get it because I was there. I understand. And maybe you're not in your first few days. Maybe you're in your first few years. Maybe you have more than 10 years and you're feeling afraid and you're feeling sad and you're depressed. I get it. Welcome. Some people say that the newcomer is the most important in the room, most important person in the room. And I understand the idea behind that, but everyone's important. Every single person's important. Because there could be a suffering alcoholic in their first few days, but there can be a suffering alcoholic with more than 20 years. I came into these rooms and I didn't know what was going to happen and thinking that it was I didn't know how I was going to have birthdays. I didn't know how I was going to have a wedding. I didn't know how I was going to have anything because I couldn't drink anymore. How was my life supposed to go on? How? This is the end of the world for me. Little did I know that my life was just about to begin. Welcome. Your life is just about to begin. I came in at age 25. Came in at 25. I just celebrated 8 years. I'm turning something around. Yeah, I'm you guys know how to do math. I don't have to tell you guys. But um, these years have been some of the most amazing years of my life. Of my life. And I didn't grow up with abusive parents, or I didn't grow up. My parents gave me everything that they could, basically. I went to school. I went to college. I everything. But it doesn't matter. No, these have been some of the most amazing years of my life. And it just keeps getting better. There's times where I'm like, oh, it can't get any better than this. And then boom, something else happens and it gets even bigger and more beautiful. Right? And so I came in on day one. I got a sponsor on day one. I didn't know what a sponsor was. I didn't know what a sponsor was supposed to do. I thought I was about to get free Nike and Gatorade and I thought that's what a sponsor was. I'm like, great, free stuff. I didn't know what was happening. I had no idea. So if you don't know what a sponsor is, I also didn't know. Welcome. You're in the right place. Um, and then they explained to me a sponsor is someone that's worked 12 steps. Eric gave the little spiel at the beginning of the meeting. It's a great description of a sponsor. And so I started working the steps. She was like a hard boss. She was like, we're gonna meet on these days. If you're not here on time, I'm leaving. You need to respect my time. I'm respecting your time. I'm like, okay. I was terrified. I was like, okay, let's go. But I was ready. These people were like, this is what we did, and this is what you're going to do. And I was like, okay. And so I did exactly what they told me to. I started working my steps. I took out the garbage whenever I got asked to take out the garbage. I fluffed the pillows. I read how it works. I read the traditions. I read promises. I did whatever I had to do. I served coffee. I worked the coffee bar. I asked for change, everything. I made friends. I think there's times where the first few months of my sobriety, I would not leave the room. I was like terrified to get out of the room. We had meetings from 7 a.m. all the way to 10:30 p.m. And so I was in there like back to back meetings. I was terrified. I think I was like carrying sugar-free Red Bulls in my backpack and sparkling waters everywhere I would go. I was like, trying to go to these places prepared. Wherever I had to go, I was prepared. Oh God. And so I made friends and we would go to the diner after these meetings and we would go dancing and we'd play pool and we'd be out to like the break of dawn drinking sugar-free Red Bulls jacked up on all these caffeinated beverages. It was fun and I was like, okay, cool, I can do this. This is what Alcoholics Anonymous is about. Cool. I was like, great. And people would ask me, oh, Monica, how are you? How are you feeling? How's it going? And I'd be like, I'm good, just hanging in there, hanging in there, hanging in there, hanging in there. I was hanging on for dear life, hanging on. Because yeah, I worked the steps and I attempted to sponsor and I remember Googling how to be the best sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I was like, I could do this. I'm going to be the best sponsor in this whole little club that I'm part of. Oh my God. My ego was still through the roof. I remember we would go to Denny's, right? After the meetings, we would go to Denny's, and I would say, this person can go with us, this person can't go. Not definitely that person talks way too much. Hell no. Nope. I was a mean girl. A mean girl in Alcoholics Anonymous. Right, one of the most inclusive support, like this 12-step program that was supposed to be include, like accept everyone, right? A hand reaching out to another hand, and I said, not this hand. That was me. For 2 whole years, 2 whole years, I was hanging on for dear life. Which meant that any little thing that happened to me, it was game over. I wanted to die. Suicidal while sober. Yep. Because I was in the meetings and I was cool. I was this cool girl reading and doing all this service. And yeah, I love AA and I love my friends in Alcoholics Anonymous. But once I was out of these rooms, I wasn't that same person. And that's my experience. That's what I experienced in Alcoholics Anonymous. I wasn't the same person and I would get out of these rooms and around my family, I was still a jerk, and around friends, I didn't know how to have relationships. And I attempted to be in a relationship at 6 months sober. You guys imagine how that went, right? Yeah. I think it lasted about a month or 2 months. I was in love. Gosh, I was in love. And as soon as that ended, I wanted to die. I wanted to die. I lost my AirPods, and guess what? I wanted to die. Yeah, it was the end of the world. And so, for 2 whole years, that's what I thought sobriety was. That's what I thought Alcoholics Anonymous was. And then the room started shutting down and this worldwide pandemic came around, and I was like, I'm gonna die. I don't know how I'm going to stay sober. I'm going to die without these meetings. Because to me, it was just meetings, 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 meetings. AA was meetings. And and then I said, how can you guys do this to me? My home group, you guys, I love you so much, but why are you doing this to me? You guys are closing down the rooms, and they're like, yeah, we don't really care what you say. I'm like, how dare you? How could this happen to me? All about me. And they're like, well, if you care about this room so much, why don't you host this meeting? Why don't you host this 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time meeting? And I was like, I guess I'll do just that. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I definitely did not think that I'd be hosting this meeting 6 years later still. But here I am. And this meeting has been a blessing. It's been like a gift from God, a gift. Because without this meeting, I wouldn't have met this little old man that came into the meeting that I was hosting one night. He came into the meeting and he was full of joy and he was enthusiastic and he was talking about rocket ships and catapults into this fourth dimension of existence, this life beyond our wildest dreams. And it was like it was crazy. And I was like, where is this guy getting all of this from? I was confused. I was like, where's this rocket ship? How do I get on this rocket ship? Where is this fourth dimension? I want to go there. Let me get on. And he's like, well, it's all in here, sweetie. And I was like, well, that's awkward. I thought I read that thing. Yeah, I didn't know where he got that from. And then and then he started sharing about his wife, and he started sharing about how she was diagnosed with cancer and they didn't care to know how long they had until she was going to die. They didn't care. But instead, every single day they would wake up with smiles and they would laugh every single day. And they laughed every single day until the day that she died. Until the day that she died. Right? And he's sharing about this experience of his that sounds pretty tragic to me. Right? Wife gets diagnosed with cancer, the love of his life. They're the only two. They live, they're living every day, life to the fullest until she's gone. And he's sharing this with love and enthusiasm and joy. Joy. And in my head, I'm wondering how the hell, how is this even possible? How can someone go through something so tragic and so painful and still share about it with so much love? How? If there's anything that I want in this life, is that to go through anything in this life with that amount of joy. And so I asked him to be my sponsor, and at first he was hesitant. He didn't want to do the long distance thing, and I was destroyed. I was like, why? But then he said yes. He changed his mind, and he was like, let's give it a shot. And I didn't know what was about to happen, but we became like magnet. We were like besties suddenly. He took me through the 12 steps, and this bestie thing was it was a progress. It was progressive. Like it started off like uh, getting to know each other through the steps, and then the more we shared it with each other, the more I shared myself. It was like a relationship started forming. A relationship started forming, and we became best friends. It was like this person that I can fully trust. And he's actually not allowed to die, and I've told him this a few times already, and he knows that, and we have a pact. So if he breaks that pact, he's gonna die from me. Like I will resuscitate and I will kill him myself. But anyway, this is we worked the steps again, and I realized that what was missing from my sobriety to be recovery was a relationship with the God of my understanding. And so when I came in and I worked my steps the first time, I was trying to do those things really fast. I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And we came to step 3 that first time with my first sponsor. And I was like, whatever I have to do. She's like, you don't believe in God? I was like, not really. And she's like, well, how did you get here? And I was like, that's, okay, fine. But she's like, if you don't believe in him, try to make up a God. And so I was like, okay, I'll build a God workshop. And so I decided to build my own God and say that my God was going to be loving and kind and forgiving and powerful and trustful. Like I was going to be able to trust this God. And so I started praying to this God, and my prayers were like really small at the beginning. It was very Good morning, dear God. Very like diary. Dear God, keep me sober today. Thank you, God. Good night, God. Thank you for keeping me so. It was very, very minimal. But little by little, those prayers became longer and they became less about me, more about other people in my life. It was my God of 5 words also became not just words, but more of things around me became nature and butterflies and trees and the ocean and the sun and the clouds. And I started seeing God a little bit more in different places. By this time, I was reworking my steps, and that third step was completely different this time around. I realized that third step was the base to all my other steps that I was missing in the past. Because now every step after step three was I had the base of a God. It wasn't just Monica; it was God. And I knew why I was working these steps. I knew the reason behind each one of these steps. I knew what each step was supposed to do in my life. And so, this whole God that I thought I was building was I ended up coming to this whole realization that God was actually building Monica the whole time. Imagine that. Little old me thinking that I can actually build God. but God was actually building me the whole time, and God became everything. God became everywhere. God became people. People. I get to see God in other people today. I get to see God when two little kids are playing in the playground and one fell down and the other one helped that little kid up. That is God to me. That's love. Or when someone's helping out an older person at the grocery store with so much patience and consideration, that's God. You know, God, God today for me, God is wherever I see God, which means that God could be anywhere. Isn't that crazy? They say, see God. God is everywhere. Literally everywhere. Everywhere. God is everything. Everything. This whole seeking God thing, um, it's all progressive, right? Like my God today is not the same God from my first year. My God today is not the same God from my second year. My God today is not the same God from my third, from my fourth, from my fifth, from my sixth year, from my seventh year. My God today is not the same God from last week. My God gets bigger and bigger and bigger every single day. Which means that my love for other people get bigger and bigger and bigger. My love. Imagine the thing that I couldn't even wrap my head around when I was drinking. Love. Today I'm throwing out love bombs everywhere I go. Love you, love this, love that, love this. My spouses are not allowed to say the H word. Ever. I don't say the H word. You guys know what the H word is? Ew, I can't even say it. Right? It's horrid. It's not that's not the H word, but I don't like that word. Right? How can I even like have those feelings and emotions inside of me when I have God? When I have God in my heart. God is in my heart. Right? And so I realized why I had to do a 4 step. And this time around, my 4 step was deeper. It was more of the things that I thought I was taking to the grave that I never tell anyone were on this 4 step. Things that, it was like things that were embarrassing, things that not just embarrassing to me, but the people in my life. Things that I just put in the back of my head and never bringing this out into the light ever. And I did, and it was scary. It was terrifying because it was like things that are coming up that made me feel weird about special people in my life. And so I sit down with this other human being for the first time in my life, and I'm ready to just spill my heart out. And then we're in a computer, right? Computer to computer, and I'm spilling my heart out. Me and this one other human being, for the first time, I'm being completely honest with another human being. And this other human being is just listening. This other human being is not judging me, and they're just fully listening to me with love, with compassion. Is this whole new form of intimacy that I've never experienced in my life. And it's me, this one other human being, and God. And when I was done, I felt like this blanket of God was being wrapped around me and this one other human being for the first time in my life. God, this blanket of love. It was warm and it was cozy, and I felt so safe. And it was like I could finally love for the first time in my life. Love. First time ever. And this God blanket, right? This God blanket became the feeling of God's love going through me and another human being for the first time. And little did I know that this God blanket was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as each step went on. Each person that I meet just becomes interwoven into my God blanket today. Every single person in my life is a part of my God blanket. And it's a pretty big blanket. But this blanket with this one other human being, like it's crazy because this God blanket started with one other human being, and then it like spread out to all these other human beings in my life. One human being. It all begins with one human. That's actually crazy. One person is all it takes. One person. We can all be that one person that could change one person's life. And then they can be that one person to change another person's life. You know, this second time that I went through my steps, well, I should say the first time I went through my steps, I did step 4 and 5, and I was like, okay, 6, 7, yeah, okay, next, 8, 6, 7, just little paragraphs in the big book, no biggie. Next, I'll write a little list. Next, make some amends, say sorry. Next. Little did I know that step 6 and 7 were 2 of the most important steps that I'd be working for the rest of my life. Isn't that crazy? The rest of my life. 2 little paragraphs in the big book. No biggie. Important steps. What does step 6 say? That I get to strive for the perfection in God's eyes. How can I miss that? Progress, not perfection. That's what I used to say all the time. Progress, not perfection. It was this way of me justifying my behavior. The oh, maybe next time. The next time came around, maybe next time. Next time came around, maybe next time. I didn't care. I didn't want to be better. Little did I know that I had to strive for the perfection in God's eyes. What is God's objective? Not Monica's. I had to kind of rewire my brain and ask myself things of like, is this going to get me closer to God or further away from God? And if it was the latter, then I'd be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And then I started telling I realized afterwards, if I'm asking myself that, it's probably because it's going to get me further away. This became a part of my life where now I don't even have to ask myself. I know it. I feel it. I feel it. Every time I try to do whatever it is that God needs me to do, and it's weird. It's like, how do I know what God needs me to do? What does God need me to do? What is God's objective? What is God's will for Monica? For all of us? What is it? That was like such a hard, a weird concept to wrap my head around because I didn't know how I was supposed to figure that out. But then it just came to me like, who does God need me to be? Am I the mean girl that says yes and no to people to come with us to Denny's? Or, or am I here to be patient and kind and loving and considerate and compassionate and understanding towards all of God's kids? The more that I work for God, the more that God comes into my life, the more humility that comes into my life. And I don't do all of these things because of the prizes, the promises. Yeah, I love the promises. Step 5 promise, step 10, step 9, 11, 12. All the promises are amazing. They're beautiful. Yes, I love them. But I don't do all of these things because of the promises. The promises come true in my life because I do all of these things for God. I get to be in God's world today. I get to be in the center. The more that I do for God, the more in the center of God's world I become. I get to be a part of. I go around, it's a joke. I don't know if it's really a joke, but I like to say it's a joke, but I go around saying that I'm God's favorite. I guess it's kind of a little joke, but I go around saying that I'm God's favorite, like I'm God's favorite. But like imagine like all of us acting like God's favorite, like a little teacher's pet to God. Imagine, I get goosebumps. Like I can imagine like how amazing the world would be. Like all little agents of God just working together. Like imagine all of us trying to be the best at being patient and kind and loving and considerate and compassionate and understanding to imagine. It's incredible. Like, um, I got this thing from my sponsor and I say, "Good morning, God, surprise me, show me, inspire me, guide me." That's usually how my morning start. And I go on through with my prayers and I kind of meditate and I like just God inspired me through my thoughts and everything. I go on throughout my day with that inspiration, with God's love. And it allows me to show up in other people's lives with that love from God. And it just allows me to be the person that God needs me to be throughout the whole day. I don't I don't pray and meditate and just leave it there in the morning. I continue that throughout my whole day, through the whole entire day. How can I show up with more patience, more love, and like today everything is about how I can have the best possible relationship with every human being in the world. Every human being. And if there's something weird with me and another human being, I ask myself, what am I doing wrong? Not what that person is doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? Why isn't this relationship the best it could be? Am I not being patient enough or kind enough? Am I gossiping? Gossip. That was a huge problem of mine for a while. Today, how am I showing up in other people's lives? Everywhere I go. Not just in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, but outside with my family, with my loved ones, with my friends, and most importantly, with strangers. Just because they're strangers, it doesn't mean that they don't deserve love. If anything, it could possibly make a difference in one of these strangers' lives. I just celebrated my 8 years right this past week with my family, and we went to We went to Italy and we went to Croatia to split, and we went to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Mostar and Sarajevo. It was beautiful, beautiful. And this time my parents came with me. I've done solo trips my whole and every year, and this time my parents came with me. And it was like it was the most amazing, it was the most beautiful moment. Everything was so beautiful. But this is why I get to do this. Hey, this is why. I have 7 seconds left. I'm just gonna wrap it up. Today, my life, I came to this realization during this trip. Every year I have like a new realization, a new little epiphany, and it's like me wanting to seek God more and more and more. Right? And this time around, like every time I've gone on this trip, I say like, oh, I would love to live here. Oh, I really want to move here. Oh, I really love it here. Like that's me. I just always want to like move somewhere else and start like a new little life. And but this time around, I was like, I'm so full and so complete with what I already have. It's not much, but it's exactly what God has given me that I get to live with today. Right? They say that life isn't all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine, but I always like to say that it is. And just because some things don't go my way, it doesn't mean that life isn't perfect. When today I'm living in God's world, and if I'm living in God's world, then it is exactly the way that it is supposed to be. Today I get to live in the fourth dimension of existence, and it's all because of you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to be of service. My name is Monica, and I'm a very grateful alcoholic. Thank you.